Good morning, everyone. It being 9:02 on Wednesday, July 9th, I would like to welcome everybody to the King County Human Services Committee. Thank you, everybody, for taking time from your day in the middle of July to come on out to our meeting and making sure that we have quorum.
Allen, Garcia,
Garcia here.
Bright,
Here.
Tarver, Linder,
Here.
Surges,
Burgess present.
Roth,
Rod's here.
and Pirog.
Thank you so much. Roth, are you just like solo on that side? What?
Invited, but then under their breath, they said, go away. For management thing.
Yeah.
And you in between.
Got it. I see the way we're stacked here. We don't have any remote attendance requests. Approval of minutes. We'll take a motion.
Linder will move for unanimous consent to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2025.
Any discussion on those? Is this an all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous consent.
Public comment. I do believe I have a note here that we have two people speaking today. Just one, okay. But I don't know if that's online or is that in person?
Is it the person in the audience? Penny?
You could speak twice. Is it Gloria Harris? Speaking on police reform, low income housing? No, okay. Moving on. Monthly financial reports are on file. If we have any questions, we can visit that. Department of Human Resource Management. Jamie, before we go into this, I think that we do want to mention that we're going to restructure the way this looks just a little bit for the next meeting.
Yeah, just from an organizational standpoint for the agenda, we normally list all those reports individually. I'm just going to change it to 3 headings: health insurance, risk management, and staffing. All the same reports will still be included. It's just all of the health insurance reports will be under the bullet health insurance, for example.
Yep, and I only bring that up as we don't want anybody coming back next month saying, well, why did you do that? Well, we're not changing anything other than the headings. The actual reports will be there themselves. We're just trying to make it look a little bit cleaner.
So you're saying next month we can't comment on the agenda because you don't.
You can't yell at me. Yes, correct. Jamie, go ahead.
Okay, so the first report on file is Blue Cross Blue Shield invoice, and this is for the month of May. It's coming in at 2.1 million almost. So that is an increase. This is the higher side, little over tolerance.
This is the biggest one I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree.
This one's huge. Any particular reason? What's your analysis?
There was an increase in claims, so
Anything in particular?
no.
Surgeries, medications?
We don't really explore it at that level, just,
Okay.
you know, from the broader stroke, it's actual claims. I mean, it could be people getting hurt out on their summer vacation. It could
Okay.
be people getting more of their annual checkups in the summer than other times a year. We don't really have it broken down into what the claims were, just that it's claim costs that went up.
If we do want to flip to page 23, this is the report from Assured Partners. It does break down claims, capitation, prescriptions. So it does really kind of give us specifics on the bill, and you can see where the increases are in the claims.
What page is it? I'm sorry.
Page 23.
Right, well, medical RX looks
That's the same.
consistent.
That's the fixed cost. So that is the administration cost that we pay per employee. per
That would
month.
answer why, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Okay, there's no question.
Interesting. But Christine, please, if we can keep an eye on that over the next month or two, just to make sure that that's an anomaly and not a trend. That honestly, that one's the biggest one I've seen.
Yes, I
So-
agree, definitely.
I think Mr. Gripe has a question.
Thank you.
Hey, John, sorry.
That's all right. What might help with this, and looks obviously medical claims were up. RX claims were up.
Go back to 23, please.
Yeah, capitation was up, so that's what's leading to it. My question would be, or request, I guess, if we could get total numbers of claims. Because sometimes that's an easy way of saying, was it dollars or did we just get twice as many claims as we got last month?
So I think Sonia will agree with me, like, our world deals in terms of two words on claims, frequency and severity.
Mhm.
So I would be curious to see, is our frequency just up or same number of claims and they're just bigger claims,
Mhm.
sort of thing?
I'm sorry, this is Sonia. I was just gonna ask, like, in the prior years, because I know that there's a tendency then during the summer it will be higher and, during the winter time lower. Is this a pattern that we have in the past years?
All the pages for past years are included in the packet if you'd like to review year-over-year trends. Blair, if you want to go back to, I'm sorry, it's not Blair. If you go back one page to page 22, there's your 2024.
My
So
gut reflex to that is no, that's not. But you know what? COVID was really, Sonia, it was really a weird time. The trends that we had normally seen prior to that, no, they didn't correlate any longer. So if we're seeing these now post-COVID giving back to normal, truly, that's a great question. I don't know that.
also keep in mind, sometimes the billing practices of the individual, physician's offices can vary too. They have 6 months to submit a claim. Just because we receive it in a given month does not mean it occurred in that given month. And they can be up to 6 months in arrears.
So, Mr. Chair, if we could get, or you guys, if we could get numbers of claims in those same categories, that's a great way to nail it down quickly.
Yeah, thank you. So John, we appreciate that, and Sonia as well. Ted, you have your hand up?
Yeah, couple of questions. I'm not sure. What is capitation? What is that?
That is related to our HMO. The way HMOs run in Blue Cross is they charge a fixed amount per employee per month, and then all of their primary care is handled under capitation. So it's essentially a fee that goes to a primary care physician, whether the person goes to them or not. So it kind of helps keep costs fixed and guarantees some regular income to a physician. So that's how Blue Cross runs their HMO.
So Ted, if I can, if you're
Yeah.
Dr. Ted and you're in the HMO practice for this carrier, you have a contract with them that says you're going to get X amount of money per month, regardless of how many patients you see. And the word for that is called capitation. And this way your office is level, regardless of if you only saw 20 people from Kane County or I should say Blue Cross HMO, or if you saw 220 people, that they are allowed to be provide that level of service with some consistency. Jamie, is that kind of like the dumb version of that?
That is, and Blue Cross is the only one I'm aware of that runs their HMO in that fashion, but that's the way they've always done it.
Does that help, Ted?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally.
It's nothing at
understand
our
the
end. It's a
information.
fixed
Yeah.
fee that the
Yeah.
doctors get their offices get every month. So
Right. And then, if you look at the, on the page 23, the medical claims after reimbursement, it's similar to what happened in February. The big increase actually is in the RX claims. That's where we're seeing a big increase, the 777. So that could be related, obviously, to the 961, 100,000.
Roth, do the math for me really quick there. 777 minus the 623.
About 150,000.
Yeah, but we're up 300,000 or 400,000. That's only 20.
Medical's up another 150. So I
Yeah.
think medical and RX is your big contributor to that. So
Right.
it's both, and they tend to
Yeah.
run together.
200,000 more in RX claims to the similar amount of medical claims in February, if you look at that. So I'm thinking that those RX claims are related to the 96100,
And I don't know if this is on our agenda or if it's just a discussion topic, Jamie. But we will be discussing some of that RX today. So,
Yes.
I'm done.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yep. Thanks, Ed.
Yep.
Next item.
All right. And then,
Mr. Chairman, space, please.
I don't see your hand up.
I'm on my phone.
Mavis, we're joking, by all means. What's up?
Your phone up.
Maybe this is what you're going to discuss later, but could this be related to something like Ozempic? Starting
Yeah,
to cost
that's
the
exactly what we're
county
going to
more money?
discuss later. Yep.
Okay, thank
Not
you.
that much. Thanks.
Okay.
It's a lot.
Page 18, this is the report for total numbers of Blue Cross Blue Shield participants, their spouses, dependents, and MERP. We were looking at numbers and we also have seen an increase of employees on the county's Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. So that could also be contributing to an increase in the bill.
Okay. Yeah, MERP is typically about 74 people historically, right?
MERP?
Lower 70s, we're up to 80 now.
Yes,
Okay.
but even like the employees, 1,063, we were trending about 900 2 years ago. So
Okay.
that's also an increase in the bill.
This is just consistent with the increase in our total staff numbers.
Oh, okay.
So it's just we have
Yep.
more employees is why it's up.
You know what?
More people on it. We've always run about 95% of our employees are on health plan.
I fail sometimes to look at the percentage to see if it's being consistent. And focus on the number. So I apologize.
Okay, the next report, we already did the Assured Partners report. So the monthly applicants and staff changes. If anybody has any questions. Page 31 is the updated exit interview graph.
Anything that you think we should be made aware of on this? That's not a leading question. I'm asking.
No,
genuinely.
no.
Okay. For this committee, the notion just a few years back, or the culture that we had at Kane County seemingly was we paid so low that we were just a training ground and our attrition rate was so poor because of money. And so we implemented this exit interview to try and establish, was that fact or fiction? And I think when you look at this graph, there's nothing that screams to me that money is the overwhelming factor. We pay well, we're a great place to work, although as a human services department, when I look and see dissatisfied with work environment at 23%, that I think would be one of the items on here that we really could focus on and say, why is that? What should we be doing with that?
I did send out an email. I think it was a question a month or two ago, and I did send out an email with some more detailed information for the committee to share with you. Some of those issues are being addressed or have been addressed, but this is a year's worth of data. So the sample size is too small if you make it less than a year's worth of data to really see what's going on. But I think this has been a system that's been effective. I think we've made an effort to look into or address some of those issues when they happen, and it is an opportunity for employees to share their experiences with us without that information getting back to their department on an individual basis. We use only aggregate data and we do protect their confidentiality.
So Christine, if I was to ask you, in terms of the attrition report, how many employees we lost in this same time period versus the 13 respondents, what percentage of people are leaving that actually take the time to do the exit interview?
I think we looked at that like 6 months ago and shared, I think it was like 25 to 30%. It was less than half, but it was a solid number.
Is there something that we might be able, and I certainly have no basis in this whatsoever, but is there something that we can do to encourage people that are leaving to give us that feedback? I mean, we can't fix what we don't know is broke. You know what I mean?
We do make it as easy as possible by sending them a Google form to their personal email that they can fill out in less than 5 minutes with just buttons to check. And they can include detail if they want to. But we do make it, I mean, I think if you just went through and checked your selections from the multiple choice, it would take less than 2 minutes. And it comes to their personal email. So I don't think we can make it any easier for them. And honestly, some people just don't want to.
Fair enough. Yep. Okay, next item. Unless anybody has any questions. Sonia,
I don't know how the departments work, but did they do any one-on-one with their employees during that time? Is there any way that we can integrate a quiz with 5 questions on how is the environment? Because I feel like it's more like culturally, depending on the culture vibe in each department. So I don't know if that's something that it can be implemented when they do the one-on-one reviews, the supervisors and managers, that way they can assist all of us in the data.
Some do and some don't. They don't share. They do not share that information with us. And I don't know that we have any way to compel it. So some may have a process like that, but you would have to ask them individually what their particular process is with a lot of different managers within the county. Understand too that this is just your county departments. Your elected officials don't participate in this, and we certainly can't compel them. That's their office. They can run it how they want. So this is just looking at our county departments and not
so in
including
county
elected
department, Jamie, I'm
officers.
so sorry. County departments, can you quantify that in terms of employees?
It's less than half of your county's employee.
600?
Maybe, yeah, probably between 500 and 600, but that is a ballpark guess. I would have to run the numbers.
But that gives some context. Did that answer your question? Okay. Christine, go on.
So David Larson, I'm sorry.
Hi, Deb.
Morning.
Can you use your mic?
Right here, here we go. Alan here, can I ask this question? It seemed to me that it used to be, our departments and our offices were about 50-50. Do you think that the extra hires in the offices have skewed that just a little bit? I'm just not close enough to know, and I wondered if you were.
I would certainly have to run the numbers. Everything changes so much from month to month. Summer interns, things like that, election workers. There's a lot of things that swing it from month to month. So we would really have to, I mean, if we want us to do an analysis on it, we can, but we have not done that.
I don't. Thanks.
I would be curious just to run a quick, I mean, I mean, don't spend hours on this, but if we have 1,400 employees and are 500 of them departments and the balance are all offices, I'd be curious on that. Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to waste Jamie's time, but if you don't mind, it's fine.
She'll assign it to Christine anyway.
Yeah,
So no.
I'll take care of it.
Excuse me, Mr. Larson, sorry.
I'm so sorry, Miss Lewis. Please, we're a little informal here, so jump in. Yes.
I didn't have my, I had my hand up. You
Sorry.
yelled at Mavis, so I didn't want to get yelled at.
We're here for you.
I know.
You scared them all about that side.
So would there be a way that we could put out like a third party, like a monkey type survey that would even go to people that quit from elected and others?
The elected offices do not want us to do that. Our system certainly could go to anyone who leaves employment with Kane County. It's a Google form, so just like a Survey Monkey, anyone can do it. And it does not go to their county. I mean, we'll send it to their county email if they're still employed at the time that we send it, but we send it to their personal email. So we certainly could send it to whoever we want to send it to, but the elected offices do not want us to do that.
Okay, and have they said why?
They didn't. I offered it to them when we put the system out. Please let us know if you would like us to include you in this process. And they said no.
Did any of them partake of it?
No.
Interesting.
Piggybacking on that, do we have the data that would say of the people that have left, this is, I mean, if we can get a count of saying this is how many we have in offices versus departments, can we get a tally of saying which office has the worst attrition? Or can we make that a bit transparent to us?
Certainly. I mean, when you say attrition rate, there's a lot of ways to calculate it. So you'd have to kind of define for me because it's really just a matter of opinion. You can look at total people who left within the last year compared to total number of employees. That would be an annualized attrition rate. You can look at the reason for termination and you can exclude people who were fired and people who retired from that number and look only at resignations. It's however you want it done. We certainly can do it. We can provide you any level of data that you want.
I'd be happy to meet with you individually on that and craft something. But Anita?
I think, I was thinking back a couple of years ago, the juvenile justice group, we were looking at their turnover. Where we got that number from, I don't know, but we were finding out that 50% of their staff was pretty much turning over. And so we asked them, what can the board do to help you? And then they came back and they said, give us access to a counseling group for $10,000 a year, that when we have an incident, our staff can have somebody to talk to. And that made a huge difference. So, you know, I don't know why elected groups wouldn't want to at least get some feedback that, you know, that maybe we could help them solve some problems. So I don't quite understand why people are afraid of, you know, transparency.
We did, I think that was 2 years ago. So we did provide attrition rates for all departments and offices. 2 years ago, it was a part of the equity study when we were discussing that and reasons for leaving. That's when we started this process, you know, regarding reasons for leaving and things like that.
Yeah.
My question, final question, is this data helping us at all? Like what is like, we have done it for what, 1 year already? It's going to be 1 year, like.
Let me try and answer that, but it's going to be vague and I'm not trying to elude it. I just don't know to what level I should be answering. By the time an issue makes it to us, it's already a problem. And because of the bureaucracy that we live in, that we work in here, we just can't step in with the hammer like maybe you and I can as private employers and say, hey, I've got a problem person, you're out, have a great day. There's a process that we have to go through, performance improvement plans, the whole 9 yards. That takes some time, but I would say that the cancer is already there. And part of this has been to try and find the cancer faster and quantify it and bring it back to maybe a committee chair to speak with a department head to come back and find out culturally what's going on there. And we've certainly had our turnover and restructuring of departments. So in an ancillary perspective, absolutely. In a specific perspective, I think it was Anita who spearheaded this deal with the Juvenile Justice Center. They weren't asking, they were screaming for help. We have a problem. And it was a $10,000 bandage that I got news for you. It was the most inexpensive thing in the world and it's had the biggest impact. And if we hadn't reached out with something like this to say, how can we help? I can't applaud this young lady enough for what she did in having the courage to come forward and say, could we consider this? And I remember when we kicked it around the can saying,
Duh. No.
yeah, I mean, really, it was like, duh, like just do it. Yet we had to fight a little bit. So to answer your question, I don't know that I can tie a string to a absolutely strict correlation, but there's a loose enough web out there that it's, in my opinion, it is absolutely making a difference. And culturally, you can feel, taste, smell the changes that we're trying to institute that I believe are happening. And I believe we are in a much more open door environment than we've been in the past. That concerns for the individual employee, although I did mention at the board the other day, Jamie, the notion of not honoring long tenured employees on their anniversary dates at the board level was not popular with me. And I understand the board's time is important, but my gosh, you have somebody that's been with us for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years. As a board member, I feel an obligation to thank them for their service. And so, I mean, we're trying. John, did you have a question?
Just a clarification, Jamie. I think you said that the elected offices have declined to do exit surveys, and we have one sitting with us. I was wondering if she might be able to clarify that. Sorry, Penny.
She has an appointment she has to run to.
Why she steps up, I just want to piggyback on what Cliff said. These reports sometimes seem useless because like in this case, it's only 13 respondents, but it gives us an overall view that says, because all we kept hearing was it's money, money, money. That's why we started this. And so now we see it's money, it's work environment. So it's only 13, but chances are it's across the board. So just like any data, you have to look at that data in the big picture and, kind of say, okay, this is probably a trend. There is other things other than money. So
I never, like, the reason why I said, is it working or not? Because I'm like, if it's not working, then let's do something that will work.
no, I
Because
get
if
it.
we're gonna go ahead and spend another year with another 13 employees just only doing that, the data's there. I mean, with those 13, I can tell you what's going on here, right? We know, but can we be proactive and not wait another year? And what else can we do, right?
It is working, and we'll talk offline just a little bit. If that's okay.
And I would add that a 30% reply rate's pretty good, actually.
Bad.
Very good.
John, go ahead.
Yeah, not to put you on the spot or anything, Penny, but. you know,
We like to.
but you're sitting here, and you can't speak for all the elected departments, but I'm curious, what we could do to make, collecting this information better for individual,
Palatable.
more palatable for, departments like yours and others.
Certainly, thanks for not putting me on the spot. And I certainly can't speak for every elected department or even close to part of them. But I think that the reason that we don't need the HR department to be involved in our separation process is that we are aware of what's going on in our offices and we handle it directly.
Is there, so we all can learn, not forget HR for a minute, but we can learn if there's something we need to be doing. Is there information you have that you could provide us? So we know if there's trends or things, and we could add up all different departments to try and do better.
I think we do discuss that information with the board when we find that there's an overwhelming problem in our office that we can't address immediately. Traditionally, it's going to be compensation packages. But that's all something that we do bring when we have problems. We don't have enough office space, or we don't have employees that feel secure in the work environment that they're currently in. Those are things we bring to the board, and I'm sure that if we felt that the board was going to address those things in a timely manner, we would bring them more quickly. But other than that, we're responsible for addressing those in our own departments, offices.
All right, just curious. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Grubb, this is Alan. Historically, I can remember when John Barsanti was the elected state's attorney, he would come into the judicial public safety meeting every month and say, my office is a revolving door. I need to be able to pay people more money. The problem with the revolving door is that we spend a lot of time and energy on training people. We train them and then they go. And that was for years. And then, now here I can't be of much help, but some time ago, we literally built into our budget $400,000 the first year and $400,000 the second year, additional to what the state's attorney's budget was, for the purpose of increasing those salaries so that we could try and stop the revolving door. I remember asking Joe McMahon when he was state's attorney, do you feel like your office still has a revolving door? And he said, no. But I believe now, more recently, Ms. Mosser said that she felt that that was back, and that's why she was dipping into her budget to pay her people more, which drives up our salaries across the county. So that's just a little piece of that action.
And I just wanted to add for you, the powers that be upstairs listening to us have run a report that says, as of right now, the elected offices have 1,004 employees and the county departments have 399.
Wow.
It is 72% elected, 28% departments.
To the people upstairs, thank you.
Finance. You can thank finance.
That is not something I
No,
would have lost that wager. Let me tell you, that's interesting. I'm glad we asked.
facing data that doesn't matter. Sonia.
Yes.
It matters to the departments.
But please, I think that I'm just going to use a quick analogy. At 62 years old, when I'm with my adult children and I watch them combat with each other, if you will, there's things that come out of their mouths that I sometimes go, oof, I didn't like that, but that wasn't their words. Those were my words coming back, you know, and I'm discouraged with myself for not setting a better example. And sometimes I believe that if we're only 30% to 70%, if we lead by example, maybe the offices would have a little bit higher trust level. Maybe their expectations would be raised. Maybe the culture that they have might be elevated to what our expectations are. And I mean, we still are the purse strings, and I think that if we set those expectations verbally, but don't live by them, they're just words. And so, Deb, I appreciate, as I've told you numerous times, I appreciate the history. And Anita, these internal studies we do, sometimes it is, Sonia, sometimes it is money, because the juvenile justice guys, pennies. I mean, like, oh my gosh. And they were a revolving door. And we needed to address it. State's attorney's office, Mr. Ford, I don't know the workings there, but maybe they're still feeling that. Maybe it's within a tolerance and they're just squeaking. I certainly don't know that, but to not be open to hearing and listening and trying, that's not who we want to be, in my opinion. So I'm so sorry.
I got to digress once more. Just wait. You're new. You can wait. Just give you a chance to get your report better. So we were sitting here. And I think maybe part of it with our electeds is everything that gets negatively said against them or perceived negative is potentially going to end up on a flyer when they go for election. And I don't think any of them want it saying that 30% of your points left because they were dissatisfied with the work environment. I don't think they ever want to see that. So there may be some reluctance for them to supply data to us that we would not use in that way, but potentially could get used. So I think if as we try to get data from electeds, we have to really watch how we're going to scrub things and how we're going to say we're going to use it, because we need data from them so we can help the county get better. But yet I understand, being elected, I've seen enough things that get taken out of context and put somewhere else. And so I don't know the answer, but there's got to be a way that we can collect some data without.
Thank you for saying that.
Anybody.
Thank you. That I didn't even consider that. Thank you.
That's because nobody can say anything bad about you. But the rest of us are only human.
Young man.
Young man.
He's growing older by the minute.
It's called job security.
I'm just happy to be here. So workers' compensation liability. The first couple of slides or forms in the report, page 33. Thank you. Started getting into our top 5 locations. The way that they use location here, as a reminder, is just like the work center identification, not necessarily the location, the physical location where this occurred. We are at currently in the fiscal year 32 workers' compensation claims that we're tracking across this. You can see the majority are sheriff's department, but they have physical contact with the public. Sorry. And then a little bit of Division of Transportation after that, but it's very small numbers from everyone else outside of the sheriff's office.
Could you, in the next
Sure.
report, is there, or you might have it another page here, for the sheriff's office, are you able to break that down into the different groupings that the sheriff has
In terms of corrections versus patrol, things like that?
Correct.
I can, yeah,
I think that'd be great.
sure. And the nature of the injuries are kind of indicative of that as well.
Okay.
Like in corrections, you get a lot more knee trauma because of them having to take someone to the ground, falling on their knees.
Yep, thank you.
Let's see, on the following pages here, we have 33 general liability claims that we're tracking. So damage to property or equipment for the current fiscal year. And that's outside of about 27 or so internal claims that we're tracking that are outside of this report, where there's no one to subrogate against. It's just damage that's been caused. Like if a deer jumps out, we're not going to sue wildlife to recover costs. So it doesn't get processed by our claims handler.
Jamie, keep us up on pages with him.
Any questions on any of the reporting, anything like that that's being displayed there?
Again, it bears saying one more time. This meeting falls directly after the normal board meeting, where oftentimes we'll go into executive session and discuss things that aren't yet on your report.
Sure.
Which kind of skews our perception of, like, you'll say something, we'll go, what are you talking about? What about that? And which we can't discuss and
Okay.
which isn't even built in yet, and we get that. So
I have a question.
Anita,
So, it looks like our, highest cause is, slips, trips and falls, and that's across all of them. Have we looked or will we eventually look at if there's any things we can do to like help prevent some of those?
Sure. Some of them were, the losses were sustained during winter months. And so some of them, weather conditions,
Mhm.
other times it's, a wet floor, signage may or may not have been posted.
Yeah.
I have begun doing site surveys, safety site surveys, walkthroughs of workplaces to identify some of the easy low-hanging fruit or
Yeah.
easily tripped areas to bring those to the attention of management there.
Thank you. You just gave me a question. I'm assuming that these claims could occur anywhere county property starts. So to use the judicial center as an example, if I pull off of Roosevelt Road, technically I'm on county property. If for whatever dumb reason I got out of my car and I slipped and fell on the pavement there, that could be a claim.
Well, these are workers' compensation. So if they're working in the scope of their duties, wherever that happens to be during their employment,
Okay.
working hours.
As long as it's, well, even, what about off county property?
If they're off county property as well.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Okay.
cover that.
Right. Okay.
Some of us are on our payroll.
John, it could be one of our guys stopping to get gas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And slips getting out of his truck at the gas station. That's still a workers' comp claim that's on us.
Now, it wouldn't be workers' comp, but it's kind of carrying this forward. If somebody's coming onto county property, how would that be classified if they slip and fall in a parking lot?
Liability.
Yeah, that's.
Just regular liability?
So what we would do is we would do an analysis to determine if the county carried any liability in that. It's public property and there's some, maintenance of public property, requirements. So if we're maintaining public property, we have a requirement to maintain it in a safe way. If they get out in a county parking lot and they trip over their own feet and fall and there's no hazard present, that is their own personal problem and it is not a liability that the county carries. So among the things that we do when we receive a claim, if they were to file a claim with us for that, we would do an analysis to determine if the county carried any liability and then respond accordingly. So sometimes we do deny them when the county does not carry any liability in the matter.
John, Sonia, and I will tell you, in our world, negligence is the word.
Yep.
What did we do wrong?
Yep.
That caused this?
Yep.
And if you just tripped and fell, there might be some med pay available to you, but
I tried to sue myself at home when I did that and it didn't work.
John tried to push me down the stairs the other day.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there.
That's why they're painted yellow so that you can see.
Are
them.
we all set?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next report, where are we at here?
The monthly training report is just the compliance. The end of August is the deadline on that, but we get good participation on this training.
Fabulous. Item 9, old business. Do we have anything to discuss there? I believe,
Excuse me.
Jamie, we were going to discuss I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
There we go. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, trying to get caught up. This may be old business. And this is in reference to the internship that I mentioned yesterday, and it's been put on to your goals, the 2025 committee goals, which would be a reference towards old business, I guess, for the internship. So I would ask, obviously not today because no one is prepared for this, but in next month, if Jamie can put together a draft for a future resolution, if this committee so chooses, and send it, of course, perhaps to Jobs as well, that really defines what an internship program is and its parameters for our departments. How many hours a week? Is there going to be an age qualification? Let's say over 18. Do they have to be registered at a college, high school? Are they going to be getting course credit for this? And what is the level of compensation we can pay to them to make it appropriate if they're getting college credit at the same time? Because I know that there are some parameters around this, legal parameters. And just so we have some context to move forward, if this is, because it's one of your goals, just to
Madam Chair,
discuss it.
since this was brought up just yesterday, and in that short period of time in the conversations that I've had, I think the direction, if we're going to discuss this now, the direction that I think is appropriate is to maybe get a survey out to the department heads saying, first off, would you be interested in an internship? And if you would, what's it look like to you? What do you need help with? This has to be something that works on both sides of the fence. I always use the three-legged stool analogy.
Of course.
Yeah, so in this particular case, it has to help the intern. That's why we're doing it first and foremost. Secondly, it can't be wasting the time of the department or the office that's hosting that intern. And then when it's all done, was it best for the general good or not? And so the question is, of the departments that we have available to us, what department heads would be most interested in doing this and what might they want to see? And can we get that feedback back shortly, like 2 weeks? So that by the next round, we actually have a basis to begin the dialogue on. And that's, Anita, you and I were both charged with that. I think that was palatable. So I think that
Thank
was
you.
going to be the
Thank you.
direction that we gave to staff to say, let's move in that direction so we can, all the items that you're talking about, let's start building those in, let's start taking shape with this. But honestly, if we have all these department heads come back and say, we're really not interested and we don't want it, we should consider that. If they all come back and say, oh my gosh, there's, 10 of us would love this, but it's got to include this, this, and this, let's just build it into the package.
And Mr. Rep, excuse me. My experience has been seeing the departments that have been using an intern have been incredibly valuable. So this is not something, not doing top down. It really is organically coming through this.
I'm Madam Chair, and just so I go on record, I am the biggest advocate in the world of an internship program, mentorship program, and my companies have used them. I mean, we take high school kids sophomore year and they stay with us right through graduation of college.
It's called building the bench.
Yeah, we build that bench strong. So John?
I think it's a great idea. The one change I think has occurred is that we're now talking paid internship. So if we ask the departments, do you want somebody to go with this? Are you willing to pay for them?
I don't disagree, but just for the record, my interns are paid.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that's
My
not a bad thing.
personal interns are paid, but I equally know businesses that think they should, I know nursing programs that say this should be a volunteer basis. I don't know the right answer to that.
I just want to make it clear because then the question is who is going to pay them? Is it that department? So forth. We just
Understood.
Yeah.
Let's build a basis on it. And Jamie, I think we've
Mhm.
discussed that a bit and we can come back to it offline.
And to be clear, we do, as a county, do internships. Multiple departments do participate in internships already. We just do not have this as a centralized function. The departments prefer to handle it on their own, but we can certainly reach out to them about any resources they may need. We pay interns, unpaid internships, unless there's a philanthropic purpose to what they're doing, such that they can be volunteers and such as the people that walk dogs in animal control, they can be volunteers and unpaid because they feel there's some kind of purpose that is philanthropic associated with it. Or if they are participating as part of a 4-credit program where it is internship hours where they get credit. If it is not one of those two things, you cannot legally do an unpaid internship, and private for-profit companies can't do unpaid internships.
Yeah, there's some language. One of my interns actually also interned. Her desire is to be an FBI agent, and she did intern for Ron over at the jail and worked under Corey, and I mean, loved every minute of it, and it was paid there. I mean, it was a stipend, but it was paid, and she enjoyed every minute of it. And
Yeah,
so
interns
we do
have-
these, and they are successful. And we're just looking at possibly expanding this to a bigger level.
Correct. Thank you so much.
Mr. Ford, I'm so sorry, Anita, go ahead.
If we already have some paid internships, what's the pay level?
Typically, it's minimum wage, $15 an hour for the majority of interns, but I know like the health department uses some master's degree interns that
Oh,
they
yeah,
pay more because they're already degreed and they're master's degree students. So it does vary. Each department manages it themselves and pays for it through their own budget. They are employees, they are headcount to this county, and they are applicable to the same policies and rules as other employees.
All right, Mr. Ford, if I can ask you, under old business, we need to have a conversation regarding some health insurance issues. We do not have it on the agenda for new business, nor do we have it on for discussion, but we would like to open that, and we've discussed it in the past. Am I within bounds to?
Stephen Ford, thank you, Chair. Yeah, you can discuss it only. You just can't take any action, final action, any votes, but you can, under old business, have a
Okay.
discussion.
Then I would like to, as chair, I would like to introduce two topics regarding our health insurance. The first one is that we continually on a cycle have shopped our health insurance and come up with significant savings, but does come with disruption in carrier. And we've heavily outlined that, what the savings would be, what the cost would be, and this body has never gone forward with it. Given the budget crisis we're facing now, it has been suggested that we should go shop that again. Jamie, from the staff and a professional perspective, and myself from a purely professional perspective, are throwing caution in the wind that while we would love to go do that, we have become, cried wolf too many times. That the other carriers have come to the plate with outstanding packages, and we have snubbed them to stay with the most expensive player on the block. They are no longer interested in shopping for our business and wasting time if we're just going to stay with Blue Cross Blue Shield one more time. When I put this out casually for conversation, I'm being really honest with you. The amount of pushback I've gotten saying, the amount of pushback I've received has already been, we are not interested in switching away from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay, that's great, folks. I'm just telling you, there is a savings there that we could implement. If we're not going to take it, then we as a 24-member board collectively should own it. However, second point, if we're going to stay with the carrier we have, there are things within those contracts that we can do that we are in control of that have some cost savings benefits to us. One of the conversations right now is the weight loss drugs, because our pharmaceutical, it's ramped up considerably. And some of these, semaglutide drugs that we are paying for are purely for weight loss. They are not for diabetics. They are not for liver. They are not for heart. They are for weight loss. But it's to the tune of $500,000 to us. Now, culturally, I will tell you that a healthier workforce is a more productive workforce. But $500,000 to pay for these drugs is $500,000. If you are a diabetic, I am a diabetic. I am a proclaimed diabetic. I have my patch on. I monitor daily. I think we all know that. I am on Mounjaro. It is specific for diabetes. It is a cocktail for diabetes. It is not a weight loss drug. But we do have an entire pharmacological grouping that is weight loss only. I do not want to go to the 24-member board or to exec and have this conversation without having it here first. Is there any interest in saying, my golly, we should be looking at curbing that $500,000 during our budget crisis? Or are we under the notion that we don't want to have that conversation? And that is not up to me, but it is for me to bring it to you to say, what do y'all think about that? We do not need to discuss it today. I can simply introduce it to you, go home, speak with your spouse, your significant other, kick your dog, do whatever you do when you're making decisions, but take and run this through the mill on where you might, it's $500,000 of taxpayer money that we are spending on this. And there might be an absolutely reasonable reason that we should be doing it, because a healthier work, not my choice, but is my goal to bring it forward. Jamie, and I'll come to you, John. Jamie, did I describe that accurately, even remotely?
Yes, to be clear, when the drugs like the one you're on are used for weight loss, they are used under a different name. For example, Ozempic is Wegovy in the weight loss dose. So they are separate medications, even though they're the same medication in a different dosing. So it is something that Blue Cross allows you to separate out. Blue Cross gives you the option to include or not include weight loss medications. You can't specifically exclude injectable weight loss medication or different types of weight loss medications. What you can do is either include weight loss medication in your plan or not include weight loss medication in your plan. You can't pick and choose which ones. If you choose, according to our broker, if you choose not to include weight loss medication in your RX plan, you can include a satellite program for weight management that includes things such as lifestyle change, and someone has to be a participant in the program to get their medication and things like that. So you can still offer weight loss as a satellite programming, similar to what we do right now. We have like the Wonder program, where people can enroll, and it's a full lifestyle change program. And you can have programs like that that include medications as well, so that people can still go on weight loss programs, but they have to do a full weight loss program rather than just take a prescription. We can include the latest research evidence that our broker can provide regarding weight loss medications, such as the newer GLP-1s. They're still looking for evidence that it actually improves long-term health outcomes. So I don't believe currently there is any proof that it does, but they're
We'll
working
pull
on that.
together the data for presentation to this committee, but y'all need to tell us what you want us to do. And we'll be as factual as we can, but I am going to come to you and say, it's a $500,000 savings. We're in a budget crisis. Will you consider this or not consider it? There's no right or wrong answer, just, what we want to do. Ted, I'll be right with you. John?
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think what I heard you say, Jamie, is that the carrier, currently Blue Cross, or the pharmacy part of it, has the ability to carve out what we would call weight loss drugs.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Second thing is, I think being the timing of the budget and all that stuff, anything we can do to save money sooner rather than later would make sense. So whatever I can do to help, get this data sooner rather than later, instead of waiting till the next Human Services meeting, maybe we do some research and have everything ready to go with options and whatnot. I'm getting the sense, as you do, that changing from Blue Cross is, not going to happen. But this could be a significant, impact, and I think we definitely should look at it. So if there's anything I can do to help investigate that, be glad to help.
Thank you. Anita, did you have a question?
No, comment. I agree with everything he said, and I would also like to know when we say we're not going to cover that, I'd also like to investigate the whole weight loss plan, because I love that idea. And I don't know if that's would cost us or, because at least if we're going to cover it, let's give people the other tools to make it successfully work, because we've all heard the stories of people go on the weight loss drug and then 2 years later they've gained it back. So, I'd like to give them the whole tools. If we care about our employees, let's show it.
And we do have a good program right now that employees can enroll in Wonder that is a lifestyle change program.
Yeah, we
So,
do.
and that is something that doesn't cost them anything to enroll in if they want to participate in it.
And I
So
think our
anyone on the county health
participation is
plan
very
can
low.
enroll in it.
Is our participation very low in that?
It was fantastic when we first came out with the program, but it's kind of, a lot of people participated the first year, a bit fewer this next year, a bit fewer the year after. So it might be time to look at changing it up. And we might look at a more comprehensive program that does include medication options. This one is only lifestyle change. It doesn't include medication options because medications are covered under our RX plan right now. So we would look at other ones that are a little more comprehensive and include those kinds of medications. And I was, since we're talking about this now, I was going to mention it under my update. We kept rates flat this year, but understand that it's not because our costs aren't going up, but because we want to take money out of reserve and to help stabilize costs for employees next year when there may or may not be raises and things like that. So while I think keeping rates flat is the right thing to do for our budget next year, keep in mind that if we don't come up with some cost saving solutions, rates will steep incline in 2027 to accommodate the increase in 26 plus the increase in 27. So health insurance inflation has continued. Costs are expected to go up approximately $2 million to the plan. That will be absorbed by our health insurance fund. But our health insurance fund will then be stable and where we need it and will not be able to do that again a second year. So we either need to bring down the cost of the plan, one strategy or another, or we can expect that to incline more steeply in 27.
Michael and then Ted.
Okay, I would be totally against completely eliminating these drugs flatly. I'm enthusiastic about the idea of saying you go into a program which may or may not include those drugs depending on what you need as the program progresses. I'd be in favor of that. I don't know how we enumerate, how we would find statistics on, as a heavy person myself, I know that I have health conditions that are related to that, and they end up costing my insurance money too. And so I don't think we know.
Clinically, if your doctor said that, I think that is a totally different critter. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, it's just, I do think that there's a difference between that. There's a ton of people right now that are doing the 1-800 number from television and paying for these things out of pocket, whether they're worthwhile or not. But I do think that getting employees healthier throughout their work life, throughout their lifestyle, relates to what we're going to pay for their medical costs the last 10 years they're here. Because if we've ignored an overwhelming problem for 15, 20 years,
like I said, it's a lot to talk about. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not asking anybody for a knee jerk.
No.
Go home, think about it. We will put together some data. Mr. Gripe, I will count on you to roll up your sleeves a little bit. Ted, you've been very patient. Thank you. I try to let the committee go first.
Oh yeah, no worries. So this $500,000, this is an estimated cost for people who are not diabetic. It's simply for weight loss. Is
I'll
that
let Jamie
correct?
answer that. Yeah.
It's not estimated. It's the actual 2024 spend.
Got it. And that's probably going to go up, I'm guessing too.
Most likely, yes.
And then of that, the employee pays whatever it is, 25% of that 500,000. So the employees would pick up, a quarter
That's
of it.
our cost. So that was
Yeah.
the cost to our RX plan. So any amount of copay that an employee paid is not included in that balance.
Okay. All right.
And Ted, just for the, and Jamie, just because I screwed up the other day, we were in a budget meeting and somebody said, what's our employee versus an employer contribution? And we are at
8317.
8317. I
Okay.
said like 80-20, something like that. And Kathy Hopkins looks at me and said, and you're a committee chair? And I said, I just brain farted. I'm so sorry. So I want to acknowledge that. Okay, yeah.
One more
Oh,
question.
two more. Go ahead, Mr. Tarver.
Thank you. I just would wonder if the data that we share will include how many of our staff members are on that? Is that possible to find out?
It's not going to tell you how many of our staff members are on it. It can tell you, the number of claims for that thing, that particular thing in a given time period. That won't tell you if it's our employee, if it's a spouse, if it's a dependent. That also won't tell you if it's not somebody who got it filled twice in a month because they forgot last month or they were late. It's never going to be, this is how many people are currently using it. We don't build statistics that way.
Because I was just curious about the impact it would have on staff. And to Mr. Linder's point, would we know if it's medically referred versus somebody who just wants to do that? Because I think that makes a difference.
We can work with our broker and try and drill that.
I think that data is important.
Does that come from Blue Cross Blue Shield, which is so cooperative in getting data from, just to let you know? I mean,
So our broker gets that. They get a data feed from Blue Cross. We get limited information out of the HMO. So, but this is coming out of the RX plan. So anyone who's using these had a prescription from a doctor or someone who could write a prescription, whether it be a nutritionist.
John, do you have the, I think we have the flavor of what we're looking for, and we can have a Zoom call with them and drill that a little bit and come back, and then you guys can say close but no cigar, or, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted to know. Is that fair? Okay. Bill, thank you. Sonia?
Jamie, I have a question. When we signed or you guys did the insurance, was it a reason that you guys said yes to those medications? Because the majority of the plans, they don't pay it unless is by the doctor, but it's not like for weight loss. I mean, and I'm telling you because mine doesn't pay it. They're like, absolutely not. If it's, you have to pay it. So is there a reason why? Because now I feel that we said yes, and then next year, oh, sorry, we're going to take you guys out. And that will make people really upset.
We never said yes. It's just either you cover weight loss or you do not cover weight loss. It was never posed to us as an option to include GLP-1s in that. It is something that the county plan covered weight loss drugs, and Blue Cross does not give us the option to exclude specific drugs.
The formulary doesn't allow us to pick and choose. So we have to go to classes. Are we going to approve that class? Yes, we want to do weight loss or not. And Sonia, the popularity of these things is just boomed, and we've boomed to the point where at $500,000, we have to bring it to your attention. I feel the responsibility to bring it to your attention. So, Madam Chair,
Thank you.
final question, then we need to.
Oh,
Yep.
fine. It's just a reflection of what I was heard yesterday by staff, that this is what their concern was, is that if you take this away, what other drug that may be expensive are you also considering as part of a budget reduction? So I'm just sharing information that I received with no opinion on this at all.
Thank you. And again, we'd be looking at a program, not a specific drug.
But-
Jamie, am I accurate in
Correct.
that?
We do not pick and choose drugs out of the plan. We certainly pay for any number of drugs that are more expensive than these in our plan, and it will continue to. So we do not go drug by drug and make choices within the plan. It is simply a grouping of medications. It's not specific. We're not going, hey, we're going to take away GLP-1 drugs. We don't have that option. We can choose, and it's always been a tier of things that you can choose from. I guess the weight loss drugs are not including weight loss drugs. So we're not looking at anything in the medical side, just the weight loss side.
So if you, I, and John could meet like at a cheeseburger place with French fries and a milkshake. Yeah. Okay. New business item 10A, resolution authorizing contract extension for workers' compensation and liability claims through third-party administrator. Jamie, are we staying with CCMSI?
Yes, this is a continuation of our current contract with CCMSI.
I will motion this and ask for a second. Mr. Gripe, any conversation? Please call the roll.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Garcia,
Garcia, I.
Gripe,
Gripe, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sturgis.
Yes. 10B, resolution approving the 2026 holiday schedule for Kane County offices. Allen motions,
Allen moves.
Tarver seconds. Any conversation? Please call the vote.
Allen,
Allen, I.
Garcia,
Garcia, I.
Gripe,
Gripe, oh, excuse me, yes.
Lewis,
Lewis, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Linder,
Linder, yes.
Sturgis.
Yes. Item 10C, Human Services Budget Update. Um, uh, Again, I just, because I'm in the chair, I just want to give my 2 cents on something. When we look at budgets across our organization, I oftentimes use the word threshold. That, hey, you can have 10% more or 10% less, or I need you to cut this or cut that. Works with a larger organization, but for the departments for a payroll department that has 5 people and they can't do it with 4, saying cut 10% is kind of a weird ask. For a human services department that has just the number of people that they need and saying you need to cut by half a person, then who's processing those claims? I don't know how to do it. As compared to saying, a sheriff's office that has, and I'm just saying, we have 700 employees, and I'm being sarcastic, but the threshold sometimes, and I'm biased against that, and I want to admit that bias. And so Jamie, I think that year over year, consistently for at least the past 3 years, we have at least showed a reduction in the budget that we've presented. Now, it's a small budget. It's not massive savings, but we haven't come up and asked for more. And I think, are we at that point again?
Yeah, to be clear, our whole
But
budget
we're to the
is-
bone. We're to the bone.
Right. Our whole budget is less than $300,000. So we are not tipping any scales in terms of the county's budget issues. And our budget is almost entirely personnel. And as Mr. Sturgis said, our department hasn't, taken on a bunch of new staff or anything like that we have space to cut people. So the budget presented, and to Mr. Sturgis's point, we as a group of county departments all agreed to work together. We all met together, discussed, agreed to work together to provide cuts overall to county departments because some of the smaller departments were less able to absorb that. I just wanted to high level just let you guys know that we did cut our budget still significantly in terms of we cut our non-personnel expenses down to the bone. We do not have any budget for advertising of employment opportunities. We've removed all that budget. We have a 0 budget for conferences and meetings. We have we've reduced our supply budget. We currently provide things like lanyards to employees in anticipation of fewer new hires in this current budget situation. We've reduced that budget significantly, and if hires continue, we may not be able to provide lanyards and holders for ID
Nike on them
cards.
or something because they've been donated.
Right. So, things like that, non-essential items, all told, all of those things, it's less than $20,000. But again, our budget is $280,000. So that I just want to let you know, we did do our part and cut those things. One of the things that we did ultimately leave in is $2,200 for labor posters. Hypothetically, each department could print their own, but I think that since that is a big compliance issue, $2,200 was probably well worth it. But certainly that would be the last thing we could take out. And we did leave in the money for it's $500 per year for our employee recognition ceremony that we do. So there is, I guess, another $2,700 you could cut if you wanted to.
And Jamie, only because you brought it up, a hot topic of discussion at a recent luncheon was the notion that we have some vending machines in this building that are specifically designated for employee, help me with the language on this, to celebrate employees. If we were going to have a picnic, if we were going to have a recognition, the money that's earned out of these Coke machines, candy bar machines, comes back for that use. So we're not using taxpayer money. Somebody has mentioned to me that that's inaccurate because the machines were provided by Mr. Ford. Am I even remotely saying that? Since you jumped me, feel free to.
I don't factually have enough of an understanding to really weigh in on this right now. Something I'd be happy to look into. If
We
there's a
don't
legal
even want to
question
look
here.
into this,
Yeah.
guys.
I
Our,
can let you know some information on
there you
it.
go. Our vendors gave us a machine so that we
No,
could.
We RFP it, the vendor, and we take a share of the profits. So that is why we RFP it, to see who will give us basically a larger share of the profits. It goes into an employee events fund. It is not a lot of money. It's a couple $100s a year. But as there are steep restrictions on what you can do with tax dollars, this is not tax money. It is generally the money of the employees because we are the ones utilizing these vending machines. But it includes people in the public certainly can access them too. But it is a share in the company's profits from the vending machines. It is a couple $100s a year. It is in a special revenue fund.
And the whopping total of that fund right now, approximately
I don't have that figure.
$30,000 over 20 years or so.
Yeah, we've never taken anything out of it. We put money into it. We've talked about a picnic, and things like that. It got canceled in
Thank you for
COVID.
30 years. We'd buy your cookies out of that fund.
Right.
I
So
can't believe this is something that somebody would look at.
we've talked about doing an event, but then again, it got canceled during COVID. And
But I do believe there is a member in a red hat in the room that would like to reinvigorate that
it comes back.
and have that celebratory picnic for our employees using that money. And I just, I did not bring it up. It was not on the agenda. As long as you step there, let's go ahead and say it. And Madam Chair, we will keep this very tight.
Oh, I just want to make sure that the public has access to those vending machines because I believe that there is security locks on there right now. So to get in, you have to have a security lock or be able to get in.
Definitely depends on the building. They're around the county. So that would depend on the building.
All
There are
right.
security doors.
But
have
I
been
think
put in
here
place.
in this building, it's limited access now.
You can get to it without going through a security door in this
I
building.
thank you for that, Mr.
If you know where
Tarver.
it's at.
This has nothing to do with the vending machine, Mr. Surges, but I was just curious, what is the direction for the department heads for the budget process? Is there a certain percentage that's been requested?
I
to try
have
to
not
cut?
been a part of that process. Jamie, you might know.
Departments were requested to cut 10%.
Thank you.
Let's go with Deb and then John. Please.
Alan speaking. I'm not sure it's a good idea to cut conferences. I think that there are, well, you can tell us best, but aren't there reasons to meet with your cohorts to learn best practices, to keep up any continuing education requirements and so on?
Absolutely, but there was literally nothing else in our budget to cut, and we were directed to cut. There isn't anything else in our budget.
we're to the
We've
bone.
cut everything out of
We're
our
to the
budget except for the items I just described. A limited supply budget, pens and pencils. It's like, I have it $2,500 a year or something like that. And the posters.
When
We've
some
cut
of us
everything
are going to
else.
be looking at this information, I guess what I'd like to have is another sheet of paper that says, we really shouldn't be cutting this. And here's the amount that we really need in order to comply, in order to be a good department. There are places to cut, but I'm not sure that those requirements are one of them. I don't expect you to.
Appreciate that.
I don't expect you to cut a check out of your checkbook if there's something you need to do to keep up your requirements. I know that there are other places in the county where we bend over backwards to, I hate to pick on Jamie, but my husband was a state's attorney for a number of years. And I can assure you that he had to pay for his own continuing legal education. He had to pay for his own bar association memberships. Sure, the climate changes, but we cover all of that and more. So just throwing into the pot.
I agree with you completely. We certainly didn't want to cut it, but like I stated, we were directed to cut and there wasn't anything else in our budget. That's really all our budget is personnel and those couple of things.
Right.
John?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to say thank you, Jamie, that paraphrase a Bible verse, of to whom little is given, little is expected, to whom much is given, much is expected. And you've set a great example by going that far and looking at things. Not that that will happen, but I think that's important. And this is what it feels like to be fiscally responsible. None of us like it. We want to give raises to everybody. We want to do everything to everybody, and we can't. So otherwise, other stuff's going to happen. So thank you for doing that. And I just got to ask you, Mr. Risk Manager, are you still happy that you're here?
Yes.
Good. Excellent.
He's paid from a special revenue fund.
Ah, yes.
Yes, love them.
All right, Mr. Tarver, do we have a motion to place reports on file? Second by Mr. Gripe. Unanimous. Any dissent on that? Perfect. Do we need an executive session? Okay. Ms. Lewis has moved to go to executive session. Ms. Garcia has second. For the reason of,
This would be for the purpose of discussing minutes of meetings that this committee has closed under the Open Meetings Act.
call that roll.
Allen,
Aye.
Garcia,
Aye.
Yes.
Lewis,
Louis, yes.
Tarver,
Tarver, yes.
Linder,
Surges.
Surges, yes, but we have 3 minutes. To open session, please.
Allen,
Allen, present.
Garcia,
Garcia present.
Gripe,
Right here.
Lewis. Who's here? Tarver,
Trevor's here.
Linder,
Linder here.
Burgess,
Surge is here.
Roth.
We're out there.
Quorum.
Okay, we need a motion to release the closed session minutes as presented.
Linda would move to adopt Exhibit A on closed and open sessions.
Tarver seconds.
Discussion there. Please call the vote.
Allen,
And I.
Garcia,
Garcia, I.
Gripe,
Yes.
Lewis,
Lucius.
Tarver, yes.
Yes.
Surges.
Yes. Accept a motion for adjournment.
Tarver so moves.
Gripe second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Job, Bill.